Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's third installment of our webinar series in partnership with the CFDA's official logistics partner, DHL. Our conversation today has been pre-recorded, but please feel free to drop questions regarding today's discussion during the live session or email the CFDA team at supplychain@cfda.com. More information on ways to directly engage with DHL on one-on-one support will also be shared at the end of the webinar, so please stay tuned for that. Today's topic is optimizing your brand's e-commerce for the holiday season, just in time for all of your upcoming holiday prep. I'm very pleased to be joined by two incredible experts in this area, Rachel McGarry, Head of US E-commerce at DHL, and Sara Fisher, Director of E-commerce at Gaia. Thank you both for joining. So let's jump in because I know we have a lot to go over and a little amount of time. So Sara, if you could first kick off the conversation just by giving a little bit of background on Gaia and the brand ethos behind the brand.
Yeah, definitely. Gaia was founded in 2011 by our founder and CEO, Jasmine, Larry, and Hekmat. We originally launched with flower crowns at the start, and less than 2 years later, the iconic ARC bag was born. So with that bag, we kind of quickly rose to cult status and fame, and with a growing Instagram presence as well. We've since expanded to become an all-encompassing women's lifestyle brand. So our categories range from bags, footwear, accessories, ready-to-wear, occasion, and swim. And our brand's ethos, just from the start, has always been founded in the customer-first mindset. So we're designing heirloom pieces that will live in your closet forever, but customer experience is always top of mind with that. So every step in the customer experience, aside from just the product, is a reflection of the brand for us.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I know we'll probably have a lot of fans of the brand joining today. So I'm very excited to hear more about the brand as well. Thank you for that. And so shifting specifically into the topic at hand, how do you prepare for the holiday season within your role and within the team so that you're offering your customers that seamless experience from the discovery of the products or coming back, to get more products, all the way to the delivery as well?
Yeah, navigating the holiday season as a socially founded, customer first luxury brand is super interesting just because everything will end up on social media. So preparing for the holiday season involves all aspects of the business. So partnering with departments like planning, operations, logistics to ensure we're set up for the demand of the holiday season. Some of which will be, years before we're actually shipping the product. So planning demand by purchasing inventory to cover our sales plans for the season, specifically holiday, occurs, 8 to 12 months beforehand. The content is then created around the products that we have in mind for the season, and of course, based on seasonality. So with holiday marketing to the consumer that our items are giftable, and things like that, it's a unique way to attract the consumer and always, making sure that we're reflecting the brand in mind. And then of course, at the end of the process is logistics. So ensuring we're set up for success in the warehouse, meeting the high volume of the holiday shipping for us. So forecasting against incoming units, expected units to be shipped out, and the number of staff that we need to ensure that everything gets processed and shipped in a timely manner is super critical for to round out the discovery to delivery experience for us. And with that in mind, we've expected an increase of over 50% in units over the last year to be forecasted to ship this season. So with that in mind, we have multiple packing stations, multiple QC touch points, and have really padded out our warehouse to ensure that, speed of delivery and quality of delivery is not affected with this higher season demand.
That's great. Well, I think two takeaways from that: collaboration is key within your teams, especially, and also the investment into the last few miles within the life cycle of that product is so critical as well. So thank you for that. That's really, really insightful.
Definitely.
And so I guess, from Rachel, your side, how do you feel like brands can engage with DHL to get support from your teams to support growth in e-commerce through successfully executing logistics or any of the other areas that Sara just touched on as well?
Yeah. There's a couple of key points that I'd like to make. DHL's relied upon for that delivery piece, right? Sara says discovery to delivery. Delivery is a key component of a successful brand experience. So brands rely on us to be an extension of that excellence to the end, right? That last, aha, I got the package. It's at my doorstep, or it's exactly how I imagined it, and it delivers for the brand. That's what we're counted on across the year, but definitely during peak, because it's such an important part for most of these e-commerce design brands, where the majority of a lot of the volume and the revenue comes in the last 3 or 4 months of the year, right? So, and to piggyback off of what Sara said, it's all about planning, right? And that planning doesn't start now, honestly. I mean, it's all year sometimes, right? Where you just, that's part of the calendar that you're assuming and understanding. And so it starts at forecasting. It starts with, making sure that you have the product to go, and, your manufacturers, and you have it, and it's making so, and DHL is a part of all of that, right? We do a lot of those samples that are coming back, and we do, from the manufacturers anywhere globally to ensure product is where it's supposed to be, when it's supposed to be, so that brands can count on it and deliver successfully. For shareholders, for customers, for everybody in the business, we're there to support. So what the crux of that is communication, as you mentioned. So planning, that's the best that we can do, is when we're really seen as trusted advisors from the brands, where it's like, gosh, here's what we have going on, and here's a sale that we have upcoming. And we do expect 50%, growth, like Sara had mentioned, right? Like, this is what we do so that we can be prepared. We have a big enough van. We have a big enough, we can come prepared. So that's the biggest takeaway that I have. And what I would share with anyone listening is going to be communicate with your logistics professionals, so that there can be an ongoing dialogue of what's expected. And sometimes there's last minute changes, and we can all be a part of that. But the more that you talk, the better and more successful everybody's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And underlining again that investment into planning all of that, and maybe this conversation will be good for brands for even 2023 holiday at this point, for based on calendars. So I think this is a good time for smaller brands who are nimble enough, and then the long-term approach for some of the larger brands as well, which is great. And so one of the solutions also around DHL and partnerships that you have is with Global E. So can you explain a little bit about that partnership? And then Sara, I'll have a follow-up question on how that affects Gaia.
Yeah, Global E is a great partner of ours. They have a really interesting solution that is aimed at making selling globally as simple as selling locally, right? So they overcome a lot of the hurdles for merchants when they are looking to expand, right? To provide a seamless and a localized buying experience for anybody outside of the States, right? So things like global payments. Not everybody accepts Visa and MasterCard, right? So, and understanding that they can accept payments, there's translation, it's easing complexity around duties and taxes or prohibited goods in certain countries, et cetera. So a lot of that can be a pretty big headache for merchants. And Global E is a great partner because it solves a lot of them. It's kind of a one-stop shop to make it easy for retailers to sell to and from anywhere in the globe. And our partnership obviously works as a good lead-in, right? Because DHL partners, and we make anywhere to anywhere in the globe pretty seamless as well. And so it's an extension of all of those brands to deliver a seamless and simple, excellent shipping solution embedded within that technology layer as well. So hopefully that covers it, but it's really kind of a united partnership in that we deliver for them and they execute really, really well to enable businesses of any size to reach global customers and do it with excellence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this sounds like an incredible partnership and covers everything in your checklist as a brand that you need to think about.
All the hurdles that are like, oh, maybe I don't want to go global because of, fraud, let's say, like I don't know which is right, or all of the things that just get in the way. And they have a really clever technology and a really great team to support the growth. And I'm eager to hear how Sara thinks about it.
Yeah, me too, which goes in right to the next question around what value, Sara, do you feel globally has provided for your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, Rachel, you summed it up greatly, actually. But we've worked with Global E for a number of years as a brand, and in line with our growth, they've provided critical support for our global growth as a brand for our D2C business. So allowing us to reach an expansive list of markets we otherwise might not have been able to as a younger brand. And now with our growth, they offer continued support for us. And I think something critical to that, not only as us, a younger brand years prior but now even is their, customer service and dedicated account management support. I think as you're growing globally, there's obviously a lot of constraints and hiccups that can come along the way related to shipping issues, duty errors upon arrival in a country for a customer shipment, all of these nuanced things that are involved with shipping globally, and their support and customer service also allows us to just provide that, seamless experience for the customer and, keep in mind with our brand ethos of, customer first in mind and making sure that nothing is difficult for them and it's always a joyful experience.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that's worked well. And I think that maybe in a future conversation, Rachel, we can explore more of those checklist items as we've done in the past as well to make sure, everyone's prepared for going global around that. It's great. So I'm shifting into two things that we can't ignore over the past 2 years, which is the COVID-19 business impact and supply chain delays or disruptions. For Sara, there's been a lot that could have disrupted a brand, many changes within those two areas of focus. So are there ways that you and your team have approached these potential or real roadblocks as it relates to e-commerce strategy over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've kind of navigated this from multiple angles, one of which is obviously planning and forecasting ahead of time and making sure that, we have A, B, and C plans in place. And, always being flexible and being slightly reactive, especially within the ever-changing market the past couple of years. But I think more specifically to the time period you're talking about, a couple of years ago when we were experiencing pretty massive carrier delays for holiday season shipping, we began to offer complimentary express shipping and gift wrapping to ensure that customers were receiving their Gaia pieces in time during the holiday season. It was originally intended to course correct these shipping delays that a multitude of carriers were having just due to the global climate during COVID, but it ended up incentivizing the customer further to purchase with us. So it ended up, being a continued practice that we've, used in years following as well.
That's great. Yeah, those are interesting ways to incentivize the client when, as a brand, things are happening, but the customer may not be as educated about it. To be proactive about that approach is a really great piece of advice for sure. And so I think, from Rachel, your side, your team is probably in the middle of many of these issues that have happened over the last, few years within the market, over the last 2 years, really, from global impact around COVID and supply chain delays and shortages also. Anything else to add from your perspective around that and the best ways to navigate that? I know there are probably a ton, but any, top ideas there for a brand?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I would mention. One is, COVID was just a catalyst and a profound one at that for consumer behavior, right? So I think right now we are in a period of, let's call it recalibration. We're trying to anticipate what the new normal looks like, what that buying, and that has effect on supply chains, absolutely. And, are they going to buy it from us? They want it delivered. Do they want to pick it up at a store? Do they want to pick it up or just go to the store and try it on? Like, we're all trying to feel it out. And I think this new normal is a bit unsettling, let's say, for some, just because we don't know. But if we've learned anything in the last few years, comes with risk, but it comes with opportunity. And so there's ways to mitigate that. There's ways that we've done. I mean, we've put a ton of investment into ensuring that we're able to deliver over the last few years, where we felt the constraint, we felt the demand, and we are prepared to, and have, I really think, shown over the last few years that we can handle it, right? We can shoulder some of those things very well globally. I think the other thing that we're navigating, and I think that stands probably the test of time in that recalibration, is B2B. So a lot of what we've seen is the traditional business to business is also following that consumer transition and going online, right? So before, more of an antiquated, a lot of the previously reluctant maybe to embrace a online presence, where we've seen massive, huge companies that have been in business for hundreds of years making that transformation online and enabling global trade online. And so I think that's been interesting, but it's also been a part of the design team around design as well. How you shop wholesale, how you consume wholesale, and what that looks like, and where it disrupted trade shows, where maybe I don't have to travel the world anymore. I'm able to find new sources of unique goods globally through technology, right? And so there are ways that you can do that. And we've seen that, and we're going to continue to see it, both for large companies and then small companies that are putting their wholesale arm online now too. And we're able to do that. And it's just an exciting piece that I think is going to continue to endure and build even more going forward. So, but it's an exciting time. We'll see how the next few months roll out, right? I think we'll see.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been an interesting few years that have changed, quite a bit. And I think that leads actually really nice into the next question for Sara is, I think that, especially for holiday, you get an influx sometimes, with your customer base as well, or maybe a different type of engagement than outside the rest of the year. But overall, whether it's a holiday or outside, do you have any KPIs or any information that would be helpful for other brands around tracking those KPIs to see those consumer insights and help improve the customer engagement overall to lead into new strategies, for the following year and following years?
Yeah, definitely. I think a couple of changes we've made that have, affected our KPIs as we've grown are expanding teams with, increased customer volume. So expanding our customer service team throughout the past year in an effort to ensure that, all customers are assisted and not only happy in the direct purchase process, but also in the post-purchase process as well. That's super critical for us. And a few metrics indicative of this positive performance are, CSAT scores from customers for customer service, an increase in repurchase rate. Sorry, my Slack just decided to go off.
You're getting into holiday season, so I can tell.
An increase in repurchase rate. Those are both, indicative metrics for us of positive performance and KPIs that we're seeing as we grow. And I think along with that, as I mentioned previously, also building out our warehouse teams, specifically, with growth, but also with the holiday season to help us ensure that every step of the customer experience is taken care of in great detail. And, that goes in line with, packing, wrapping your order, and how they receive it as well. So making sure every first time purchase and even every 11th or 12th purchase by a customer is an easy and joyful experience. And that's critical to improve customer engagement for us as a brand.
Yeah, that's definitely very true. And I feel like actually kind of answered my next question a little bit, but if there's any other specifics around, I'm the person, especially for holiday, that shops very last minute for some things. Hopefully not everyone does that, but anything ensuring around like, product on time and product arrivals from the brand side to prepare. And then of course, partnering with someone like a DHL to get that, package to the destination, of course, that you would suggest, for either, smaller designers that are first kind of getting surges in this, or anything else outside of what you already outlined?
Yeah, I think in addition to what I mentioned, we also have conversations with our carriers, as we're doing now, to ensure we're communicating the expected higher volume and understanding shipping cutoff dates. So, we are working together side by side in fulfilling these customer demands for the holiday season. And in addition to that, building out the team so we're equipped to handle this expected volume at the same speed in which we always ship is super critical to us. So your experience during the holiday season is no different from when you're purchasing with us at any other time in the year. So as a brand, we pride ourselves on shipping out all orders within 24 to 48 hours. And on average, most orders are shipping out within the same 24-hour window that they're placed. So making sure that not only are you receiving something beautiful, but you're also receiving it in an expected and timely manner, just to make the whole experience as efficient and easy as possible for you.
That's great. Thank you for that. And then I think to round out from Rachel, your side, any tips for designers during this upcoming holiday season that maybe Sara hasn't touched on, or anything that you see from the DHL side as critical to think about or consider?
One of the things, I would just underline a lot of the things that Sara said. So yes, all of those things. I think as you develop, maybe one piece of awareness that's kind of fun to think about is the holiday season globally has a few other key dates rather than just planning for December, right? And for instance, Singles Day in China, I don't know, like it is one of the largest, if not the largest, global sale day from one of the largest regional areas of growth. So as you look to go global, understand that there's a whole world of traditions and holidays outside of what we're used to in the United States, and you could take advantage of those things. You could take advantage so you know when to sell things, and you know what markets you want to take that opportunity into at what time. So that would be one, is just as you have and kind of widen your lens to a global market, there's a lot of great opportunity. Yeah, there's some complexity, and we have partners that help overcome those things, but there's a lot of fun in that we can learn, and you can deliver excellence and revenue back into your business. That's a really meaningful. So that's what I would point you towards. We actually have a few articles. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, Cal, but our global teams, because again, where they sit, they're able to see and educate businesses of all sizes. But I think it's important for anybody kind of just getting started to review some of those articles that talks about manufacturing demands and ensuring, successful inventory, stocking, et cetera. And what do you do? How do you understand global holidays or global cultures, prohibited goods, or anything going into global trade that you can really just educate yourself with, so that you can sell and you deliver with confidence. So I can send a few of those out to you, or you can send it out to the group, but would really encourage both the excitement and the interest in seeing what can happen globally, and use the resources available to you.
That's great. Yeah. And I think, the point of, not just the specific December timeline is so critical. And again, the planning around who your consumer is and where they're located is, it goes back to many of the points covered in this conversation. So that's a great point to bring up around not just assuming that you're going to have that surge only during that time. Hopefully you have surge all year, and you can figure that out, and plan for that. So that's a great piece. And I will definitely distribute those articles as well. So thanks for pointing that out. Well, that is all the questions specifically I have. I hope that, Designers will jump in to send some more questions, as I mentioned at the beginning. But thank you both for the great insights. I know our audience always enjoys hearing both the perspective of a brand, so they can relate to, you know, the issues that come up, the successes that happen, and the excitement and the challenges that come with, you know, operating those brands. So thank you, Sara, for that. And also hearing directly from a resource such as DHL. So thank you, Rachel, for that also, as always. And thanks, you know, for sharing that with our community overall. That closes today's session. Thanks all for joining. Please be on the lookout for a recording of the CFDA's webinar today on our YouTube channel, and we'll also send a direct link to the recording via email for anyone who's registered to attend this pre-recorded conversation. And I'll also make sure and include some of those resources from DHL and any other touch points that we can think about to continue the resources that were discovered and covered on this conversation. And also just a quick reminder that also part of our DHL CFDA partnership is the DHL office hours, where you can actually do a deeper dive into some of these different areas of focus, whether it is, you know, the holiday season and preparing for that and planning for that, or many different areas. Again, that speaks to what a brand needs to go through and ensure is successful throughout the entire year, as Rachel said. So you can reach out to cfda@dhl.com to schedule one of those office hours. And there's many topics that can be covered in there, as I mentioned. So definitely reach out if you feel like you need a little bit more conversations with DHL on that as well. So thank you again, Sara and Rachel, for joining us and, you know, sharing those insights. And thanks for everyone for joining in and listening. And I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you both.